Hey there gamers, welcome back to the Board Game Co channel, and today we have a preview of Catopomp. Hey there gamers, it's Professor Meg here, and welcome back to the Board Game Co channel. Today we have a preview of Catopomp. Now this is going to be a Kickstarter campaign. You can check out the link down below for everything that they have planned. And that being said, this is a prototype copy in front of me, so all of the rules, components, and things like that are subject to change. Catopomp is going to be a shedding game that, depending on the number of players that you have playing, that'll change how many cards you get and things like that, and which cards are exactly out in play. But that being said, there are cards numbered 1 through 10, and you are attempting to shed all of your cards because the last person to do so will lose one of their soul gems. And if you lose both of your soul gems, you lose the game completely, meaning that everyone else will win. And this is a fast-paced game where you're meant to play a game over game and be able to reset. That way you have multiple winners, losers, and things like that. But the heart and soul of the game is that you are shedding all of these cards because you are trying to usher these cat souls onto the afterlife. So you're playing these cards not only into heaven but also into hell, and you're using your heaven and hell areas to be able to hopefully send these souls off to where they belong at the end of the day. Now here you can see in front of you the game is set up for 4 different players, so there are 9 cards each in everyone's hand, meaning that there are some cards left over to leave a bit of mystery in the game for what cards may be where. Now another thing that is very unique about Catopomp is, depending on the number of players, you will also roll dice that players are able to draft during their turns to be able to add to the cards that are played. So I am going to walk you through a full turn because I think that's the best way to show the game off to you. But as I noted, whenever a player is the last one standing with any unplayed cards, that is when they would lose one of their soul gems. So the way to lose the game is to lose both of your soul gems within different rounds because you were the one that was not able to shed all of your cards from all of your play areas. But that being said, all other players will win when that happens. Now, before we start the round, we are going to roll all of these dice. Now, usually each player would individually roll 2 dice for each of them, meaning that each player gets 2. And once you start losing soul gems, you actually get a bit more control over this. But that being said, I am rolling for everyone because I am everyone today. So this is what we rolled here to be available for the dice pool. And this is now dice that players are able to draft, which I will show you exactly what that will look like in a moment. Now, to understand Catopomp and how you are shedding cards, you're going to be playing cards that are always better than what was played previously. Now, I'm going to go through an example to show you exactly what I mean because it can be a little bit tricky to explain, but as soon as you understand it, it's very, very intuitive. So, for example, if you had 2 2s, then you would have to play at least a 1 2 3 or a 3 3 3 to be able to beat those 2 2s. So, sets of numbers of the same number are always better than a run, but the more cards that you actually have within that quantity are always better. So for example, 4 of a kind is always going to be better than a run of 3 numbers, no matter what those numbers might be. But on top of that, players are going to be able to draft the different dice, and they will also have to play into their different hell areas if they're playing from their heaven areas, so that's going to make things just an extra level of tricky as well. So taking a look at what I said, if we started with this player here being our first player, we would take a look at their cards and see what they have available. Now you can see everyone does have their 2 soul gems out, and we have our 8 dice rolled, so we're ready to go. And then this player is going to start off by trying to play whatever they can, but being the first player, they do have an option to ante up later. So here they have a 1 and a 2, and that 1 and a 2 may be what they start off with just to see what other players are able to answer with. Now, when you do this, whenever you play from your heaven area, which is your secret area of cards that you have, you then have to play a card into your hell area, which is then somewhere that you're going to be able to play cards from in the future. So in this instance, where this player chose to play the 1 and the 2, and they have another 1, and they don't really have somewhere else to use that in the set, they may choose to play this into their hell domain for now, because it's not really giving players much other information about what they're doing. Now play would continue over to the next player, and they would have to be able to answer with something better than this. So they would be able to use a run of 3 cards, or at least 2 matching cards. So taking a look at what this player has available, they do have 3 in a row. They have a 6, 7, 8, but they may choose to want to hold on to all of that because it looks pretty good. So they may choose to answer with their 2 1s, just choosing to shed those cards, and then perhaps they would play their 2 into their own hell area, holding on to their hand. Now after that, play would continue to the next player clockwise, and this player would have to do something a bit better with at least 3 cards, since this player already had 2 of a kind. But it's in their best interest to play something with a few more cards. So taking a look at their hand available, they're going to play a 6, 7, 8 to hopefully stop whatever is happening from a future player. So they would choose to play that 6, 7, 8, and then again they would have to choose a card to play into their own hell area that would be visible for all of the other players before keeping the rest of their hand secret. So then we would continue on to our 4th player and see what they have available, but they're in a pretty tricky spot. So they would have to be pretty lucky with what they have, and looking at their hand, they actually have a pretty amazing hand. So they have 2 3s, 2 4s, 2 5s, and 3 9s. So they are able to play these 3 9s, which is better than an 8 6 7 or 8 7 6. So they would be able to play the 3 9s since a set is better than a run, and then they would probably choose to hold on to this, but this is pretty fantastic for them to have. Now, but because they did play something from their heaven area, they would have to play to their hell area, and that being said, looking around the board and everything that they see available, perhaps they would choose to play a 3 down to their own hell area before continuing play to whoever was the first player. Now this first player has a choice, as did all of the other players, that they could have passed at any point. If you do choose to pass, you are passing for that round and giving up control of what cards you are able to shed, and then that gives control to the next player in clockwise order. All of these cards would be discarded, and then play would begin anew, where players are attempting to, again, try to shed all of their cards that are available in their hand. Now that being said, cards are going to start showing up in your hell domain, and you are able to play cards from your hell domain. When you're playing from heaven, you are able to play 1 card. However, when playing from the hell domain, you are only able to play 1 card if those are the only cards left. Otherwise, when you're playing from your hell domain, you have to have something built up a little bit more before you are able to play that onto the board. Now that's about halfway through the first round, and again, players all have 2 soul gems, and you only lose 1 when you are the last player not able to shed all of your cards, and you have unplayed cards. So depending on the number of players, this could last quite a few number of rounds, but that being said, this is a very fast-paced game that is meant to be played over and over again. Now there are a few other things that are planned for this game that I'm going to go over now, but they're pretty cute, so I want to show them off. Now here are our catletons. They are cat skeletons. They're absolutely adorable, and they actually have little fish skeletons in the background because, of course, what else would a fish skeleton want? Now, these are going to be able to add a little bit to the game that, depending on the number of players, you'll shuffle in that many cards into the deck, and then when players are able to play these, they're able to use this to discard it to play a card from their hell area. So this is a way that you are also able to get these cards out of your hell area and hopefully play all of your cards before at least the last player so that you are able to hold on to your soul gem. Now the other card added to the game is Madam Mitch, the Dice Witch. So she is a cute little dice goblin, and what she does, because she loves dice, is that she is able to duplicate a die for you. So even if you were to take 2 dice, in this example if you took a 1 and a 4 to make it a 5, she would duplicate it again for you. So for example, if you had 2 5s already, this would be a set of 4 5s because she would count as a 5 herself, as well as the dice counting as a 5. Now you could do that with just a singular dice as well, but she's something that you're going to also add to the game depending on the number of players, and she will provide that for you to be an extra dice. Now, another thing that I love about these extra cards is that they also count as zeros. So they count as a 0 when you want to play them or you are able to do the special ability, but if you want to do a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you are also able to do that as well with them. Now, in Catopomp, as the cards only go from 1 to 10, this game is very fast-paced, but there's a lot of information available to players. You're going to have all of the different hell cards cropping up as you start deducing what other players have, and you also know that there are the dice that you are able to draft to really mitigate things, that some players may not be thinking about it, but you are really able to add to your different runs that you are able to do, depending on what you are able to draft from this area. Catopomp is going to be a very fast-paced shedding game where players are trying to usher these different cats into the afterlife as peacefully as they can because they want to do it as fastly as possible before all of the other players. Now, the hell mechanic is going to be very, very interesting because players are choosing what information to show to other players, and it's also showing that they aren't going to be playing those cards from different sets in their heaven hand, meaning that they may not have things that are relevant to the numbers that they're choosing to show, or they might just be bluffing. So there's a whole lot of thinking in this game between both what cards you choose to show when you're playing from your own heaven hand, but also what it might mean when other players are showing different cards in their different hell areas, and what that might mean for the different cats. Now, if you'd like to see everything that they have planned, you can check out the Kickstarter link down below. This has been a preview of Catopomp. Thank you all for watching the Board Game Co channel. I've been Professor Meg, and I will see you all next time. Bye!